Most of our work has incorporated MBI as a global construct of changes in behavior and personality that are emergent and persistent. But we originally divided this based on our clinical expertise and the evidence into 5 domains. So domain 1 is impaired drive or motivation, which really reflects apathy. And so later onset emergent and persistent apathy is indeed a risk factor and a disease marker, right? And we had a poster at AAIC showing that in dementia-free individuals, MBI apathy was associated with a substantially greater rate of incident dementia compared to the no apathy group or the no neuropsychiatric symptom group. And there were interactions with APOE status as well, including APOE 2, 3, and 4. We assessed that. And apathy can occur early or it can occur later, but it's once you get to dementia, it's actually common and impactful. But it does emerge in advance of dementia and can be used, as a risk marker. Domain number 2 is affective dysregulation. So these are mood and anxiety symptoms, and again, superficially they can be perhaps misdiagnosed as major depression or generalized anxiety disorder, but really these are, again, sequelae of neurodegenerative disease that emerge in the context of the changing dementia proteinopathies. And we can capture them though with, there are many rating scales for anxiety and depression, as long as they're used over 2 time points to show that persistence, or, with the MBI checklist. The 3rd domain is impulse dyscontrol. And these are the symptoms that we often see later on that get diagnosed as agitation. So the excessive motor activity, the verbal aggression, the physical aggression, which are the 3 domains within the IPA agitation criteria. Well, we can see those all in advance of dementia, and they cluster within the impulse dyscontrol domain. There are also within that domain, which is the largest in MBI, also some of the kind of the orbital frontal type behaviors with ruminative and obsessive type behaviors that all, reflects, reward salience and difficulty inhibiting responses to that. The 4th domain is social inappropriateness, and that really reflects social cognition. We see that in Alzheimer's disease, but really that domain was placed in there purposefully to ensure that we're capturing that loss of social graces, tact, empathy that we see often in FTD. And then the 5th domain are psychotic symptoms, which are common across dementia diagnoses, most common in Lewy body dementia, where they're up to 70%, but in Alzheimer's, 41% based on the largest meta-analysis of people with AD develop psychotic symptoms. Well, indeed, they occur at low frequency, but they occur in MCI and even in normal cognition. And we had 2 poster presentations looking at psychosis in advance of dementia and in the MBI framework. And one was using NAC data, where we had later life emergent and persistent psychosis in dementia-free individuals, and found that when it emerged, it was associated with a really substantial risk, especially when people, older adults with normal cognition, develop psychotic symptoms. The hazard ratio was in the 9s, so a great risk for incident dementia. It was still very high in MCI and is a substantial contributor to risk. So the point being that if psychotic symptoms emerge, they really need to be attended to and paid attention to. And then we repeated the analysis in the PROTECT study, which is a large UK online study in which the MBI checklist has been incorporated. So Byron Crease at Exeter led this analysis, and cognitively normal individuals at baseline were operationalized as having MBI symptoms from the MBI checklist, and then incident decline using the IQ code as a marker of cognition and function at 5 years was used at the outcome. And once again, those who had psychotic symptoms had a significantly greater risk of incident cognitive decline compared to those who didn't meet the cutoff for MBI psychosis, not having any of those symptoms. So those are the 5 domains. And again, we've, for the most part, used a global status, but the work is now evolving into the multiple domains. So we presented apathy and psychosis at AAIC. The manuscript with affective symptoms will very soon be submitted and shows something similar. And then the impulsive control will come thereafter. Now, if you look at relative risks between the two, between all of the 5 domains, the greatest is with psychosis. It's the one domain that has it means that one really has to be concerned about incident dementia. And at the other end of the spectrum, the lowest risk is the one that's included in all the models, which is depressive and anxiety symptoms. So affective dysregulation, and then everything else is in between. Apathy and impulse dyscontrol in the middle. And then we haven't analyzed the social inappropriateness yet. It's a low frequency domain, like psychosis, but we just haven't gone there to figure out what is that contribution. And how many of those folks develop AD versus FTD, for whom we originally really kind of constructed that domain.